Hello, and welcome to our execution. Hi, hello, and welcome to my channel. My name is Amber. If you're new here, welcome, and if you are a regular subscriber, welcome back. It's very good to see you. Today we got something kind of maybe a little bit controversial today, depending on how invested you are in said fandom. But today we're going to be talking about Bleach, specifically the 5 movies in the Bleach franchise. In case you're not aware, Bleach is an anime / manga series by the creator Tite Kubo. I think that's how you say his name. I've heard so many variations on this, so if I don't get that right, I'm very sorry. It was created in 2001, and the anime started in 2003 or 4. I started watching it back in high school around 2011, 2012, right around the time that the anime had ended. And I'm thoroughly in love with the show. It's one of my first big shonen series that I ever watched. I think it's the only big shonen series I've ever finished. The big shonen series, like as in the big 3 from the early to mid 2000s. It's the only one I ever really got invested in, so that's why it's probably one of my favorites. It has a very special place in my heart. So naturally, as someone who watched the Bleach series, I also watched all of the movies, every single one, including the live action movie that came out 2 years ago, also known as the Shinigami Agent arc, which we will discuss because I have many a thought on this series. But I really wanted today to not really necessarily review the movies, but to give a ranking of sorts, I think. Because, how do I put this? They vary in quality and story, I think. And it may get me on someone's shit list. I don't have anybody personally in mind who I might be on their shit list for. And it might actually be views that a lot of people who've watched the series hold. It's always very dangerous to talk about the big shonen series. So here we are. For Bleach, there are 4 animated movies. There's Members of Nobody in 2006, Diamond Dust Rebellion in 2007, Fade to Black in 2008, and Hellverse in 2010. They were all directed by Noriyuki. Is it Noriyuki? It's Noriyuki Abe. He's also the director for the regular Bleach series themselves, so he's very involved. It's a very consistent style, and also has a lot of input from Tite Kubo. Some of the stories were written by him, some of them were just characters made by him. They are not canon compliant. Anything that happens in this show does not affect, in the movies, does not affect the series, so that's pretty normal for most shonen series, I guess. The live action movie is a live action retelling of basically the first season of Bleach. I forgot who directed that movie. Let me look. I wrote it down. The live action movie was directed by Shinsuke Sato, and it definitely had involvement from Kubo. So there's that. So we're gonna start this ranking with 3 specific things in mind. 1 is the animation, 2 is the story, and 3 is script. With those 3 things in mind, the heaviest one will be animation for me. That's what I look for a lot in movies. 2nd will be story. 3rd will be script. I listed this in the order that I put it in. For me, animation will make up around half of the score. And spoiler alert, a lot of these movies have really good animation. Actually, I'd say all of them do, despite how I feel about them. So, with these then in mind, let's Memories of Nobody, like I said, was created in 2006. It takes place sometime after the Soul Society arc, after Aizen defects and Ichigo saves Rukia. During this time, Ichigo and Rukia are busy taking care of some hollows downtown when they are surrounded by some mysterious and odd spirits that are later known as blanks. During this time as well, a new person dressed as a Shinigami appears and starts to defeat some of these spirits. Her name is Senna, we learn, but she doesn't really tell us anything else, and as Rukia and Ichigo try to press her for more, she runs and hides. She doesn't want to answer any questions. With this in mind, Ichigo and Rukia decide to split, Ichigo chasing after Senna, and Rukia going back to the Soul Society to inquire about both Senna and these weird spirits to see what's going on. As Ichigo is chasing after Senna, we see a couple of his friends arrive from the Soul Society, saying that they are sent to investigate this really weird phenomenon going on where the world of the living and the Soul Society are being drawn closer together by this naturally occurring phenomena within the Dongai known as the Valley of Screams. The Valley of Screams is where these blanks originate from. These blanks we learn that they are amnesic souls who have lost their memories, but these memories are together formed to create a singular entity known as the Shininju, and this Shininju is fairly powerful. So the Valley of Screams is, like I said, colliding with the two worlds, and we see in the Soul Society a mirror image of the world of the living overhead. Within Division 12, they are trying to figure out what the cause is. Naturally, the people are trying to look for the Shininju to get some clarity to protect her from whoever is trying to create this chaos. So with this in mind, Ichigo goes and still chases after Senna. He finds Senna being accosted by this group of vigilantes known as the Dark Ones. Very creative name. As soon as he arrives though, he fights him off a little bit, but then they leave without really talking to him at all. So after this, Ichigo and Senna start to get to know one another. I think this is within a span of a day. He's trying to find out more about her, and she's still being very elusive, but she seems to be having a fun time. She's like a naturally happy, bubbly, go lucky person. But during this time, we also see her have some Vietnam War flashbacks to memories that don't seem to involve her as a person, but they're other people's memories. And she seems to recognize them. We later learn that this is because she is, in fact, the Shininju, as the Soul Society later informs us, because they come and try to collect her. And Ichigo, being Ichigo, says, "Nah, fam, she's a person. I ain't letting you take her. She deserves to live." And at this point, it is when the Dark Ones come, beat the shit out of him, and take Senna back to the Valley of Screams. Upon waking up, Ichigo is like, I have to go save her. Of course, during this time, the Soul Society is determined to destroy the Valley of Screams, but Ichigo goes in anyway, and Rukia tries to convince the head captain to stop. Of course, there always has to be this. The head captain says this place is like an hour before it explodes, and he has like this big giant rocket. I forgot what it's called. It's like a cannon kind of thing that the Keto Corps are in charge of. And he's like, we're not sending anybody in. It's way too risky. But what happens? Well, Ichigo is almost defeated by the Dark Ones and the Blanks. And we end up seeing that a lot of the Shinigami end up going in anyway and trying to save him. So the head captain is forced to postpone and hold off destroying the Valley of Screams, trying to give both Ichigo and the other Shinigami a chance to escape. With their help, Ichigo is able to defeat Ganryu, who is the head of the Dark Ones, frees Senna from this machine that she's attached to that is run by the Blanks. And I can't exactly remember... I can't exactly remember why, but when she's attached to this, it allows the Blanks to fuel it and it could explode. That's all I remember. I will put the explanation here because I cannot recall. Unfortunately, there's a lot to this movie.
Hello, it's me. So, okay. So, from what I can gather, this machine that Senna was hooked up to is, and this is from the Wikipedia page, I did not want to go back through and watch this movie, so I looked it up, and this is the best answer I have for you. It is a machine that the that is powered by the blanks that can cause the Valley of Screams to collapse, resulting in a collision between the real world and the Soul Society that could destroy both. Nice. Okay, so there's that. Oh, and I'm not sure if I made this very clear. The Valley of Screams is formed when souls get lost in the Dongai, and from what I understand, they form a place such as the Valley of Screams once they accumulate around there. And I believe that's how the Shinenju is formed, because they lose their memory somehow, and Senna is the result of this. That's what I can gather. This may not necessarily be correct, but that is from what I can understand. So there's that. Anyway, let's go back on with our video.
So they save her after defeating the Dark Ones. They make it out into the world of the living, and they think, oh, the day is saved. No. No, the collapse is still about to happen. And that is when Senna realizes that she needs to be the one to neutralize it, because she is the Shinenju and she has that ability. Of course, she knows that once she does that, she will basically die. Ichigo does this thing like, no, don't do it. And she's like, I have to. It was nice knowing you. Jumps into the water. Bada bing, bada boom. The Valley of Screams disappears and everything goes back to normal. But she's not fully dead yet. We see Ichigo taking her to the graveyard of where the main person that Senna was is located, and she dies on his shoulders, and it's actually really sad. I will say this was a very solid movie, a good first movie for a franchise. I'd say animation is wonderful. It's gorgeous, especially the beginning shots. Especially for the time that it came out. After watching it after a couple years, I always found myself very enthralled because it looks just so great. Story-wise, it was a little clunky, I'm not gonna lie. This movie, it's a movie, so it has to be sped up a bit for the sake of trying to wrap up a movie in like an hour and 45 minutes or an hour and 30 minutes. And so like all movies, if you rush a story, it'll be a little bit clunky, but you get to your deadline eventually. So I will not necessarily fault it for that. It does lose a couple points because at some points it just feels a little too rushed, but it is what it is. Oh, I also forgot to mention, in this movie, there is a memory wipe, which we love that for a movie. It's one of my favorite tropes, aka it's not really one of my favorite tropes, I don't like it, but you have to forget Senna apparently, so for the series to exist. Line delivery, actually, I liked, and you'll see compared to a lot of the other movies that we watch, it's pretty solid. There are some cringy lines. That's just based off the translation, so there's really, I don't think anything the English dub cast can do. I watched this all in English dub. It's also good in sub, but I prefer it in the dub. With that, let's go to the second movie. Diamond Dust Rebellion came out in 2007, and it is a heavily Toshiro Hitsugaya based movie. Fun fact, I'm not a huge Toshiro Hitsugaya fan. I don't hate him, he's just not my favorite character. He's very much Tite Kubo's favorite character, that I can tell you that much. He's one of them. He likes him, Byakuya, Kenpachi Zaraki, that kind of stuff. Whatever. This movie, I believe, is set also on the heels of the Soul Society arc, but closer to the Arrancar arc, because there are Arrancar in this movie. Not the Arrancar we know, but some new Arrancar. In the beginning, we see a procession going over the world of the living with Division 10 escorting this divine object known as the Oin, also called the King's Seal. It is from the royal family, which if I remember correctly, and I forgot to look this up, forgive me, I may put an editor's edit thing here. Hello, it is I, editing Amber. Okay, so the royal family, that's a bit complicated. So I tried looking up some stuff, and from what I can tell, and from what I do remember from the manga / what little I read of Can't Figure Your Own World, the royal family isn't really brought up much. We know that there's the noble clans, like the Shihoin and the Kuchi clan, and then there's the Royal Guard, but when I searched royal family, the first thing I got was a Bleach fanfiction wiki, which we're not looking for. As far as I know, we really don't know much about the royal family. All we know is that the Zero Squad defends them. They are their protection, and that's pretty much it. In terms of the Oin, we just know that they own it, and that they are, I think they also are in charge of the Oken, the large key to the royal dimension. They live in they're supposed to live in the Soul King Palace. Other than that's it. That's all I got for you. Let's go back to our regularly scheduled video. Okay, bye. I have so many questions, and I don't think it ever got brought up again. But also, I'll explain why I don't like this thing being in this movie. Anyway, so as we go along, Division 10, which is led by Toshiro Hitsugaya and his lieutenant Rangiku Matsumoto, they are all attacked by three mysterious figures, two of which are Arrancar women named Yin and Yang, which... and a mysterious masked figure named Shojiro Kusaka. And we learn that through the very first few minutes that Toshiro recognizes this dude. Kusaka steals the Oin and makes off with it, and Toshiro, against the regulations of his post, abandons it to chase after Kusaka, leaving his division and his lieutenant, Matsumoto, to bear the consequences, which happens to be that they are put under house arrest, locked up, their zanpakutos taken from them, and they are to wait their sentence while locked in their barracks. It's very sad for Rangiku, I can tell. She hasn't had a lot of luck with loyalty to people. Meanwhile, down in the world of the living, Ichigo comes across this really weird barrier, cuts through it with Zangetsu, and finds that the scene of the ruined procession, dead bodies everywhere, and is encountered by the stealth force, by the 2nd Division. Suifon is like, what the fuck are you doing here? Well, how did you even find us, first of all? And he's like, it doesn't matter what happened. So basically she tells him the gist of what she knows and kicks him out. That's when Uryu comes around and says, this has been here since yesterday. I don't know what you've been doing, but I've been trying to figure out what's going on. He tells him. But around this time, that's when Hitsugaya comes stumbling in, wounded, and collapses, leaving Ichigo to take him back to his house to recover. Gives him his bed and everything, and he tries to question him, and Toshiro's grateful, but he's like, I don't really want to talk about it. It's none of your concern. So he spends the night. In the morning, he tries to leave quietly, and Ichigo is pissed and is like, there's no need to be sneaking around, man. Tell us what the hell is going on. Toshiro doesn't really get a chance to, because the Arrancar attack, and he makes his escape after Ichigo is wounded. Rukia and Renji show up not long after and give him the scoop of the situation inside the Soul Society, and he says that he had encountered Toshiro, and they are like, you encountered Toshiro? What the hell? So he said, he was here, he was looking for this Kusaka dude, he's wounded, and he's trying to get the Oin back. Meanwhile, Rukia sends Renji to go back to the Soul Society with Toshiro Hitsugaya's Haori, because he left it behind. Haori? Is that how you say it? I don't know. And to inform Rangiku that he's not only alive, but he's doing whatever the fuck he's doing. And obviously she's not happy, but this leads her to ask for help from Captain Kyoraku and Lieutenant Nanao, and they realize that there was a Kusaka in the same class as Toshiro Hitsugaya. Also around this time, Kusaka arrives in the Soul Society and attacks Captain Kyoraku with Hyorin Maru. And in case you don't know, Hyorin Maru is Toshiro Hitsugaya's Zanpakuto, and people should not... It is not only just a thing in Bleach. It is a rule with the Soul Society by Central 46 that you are not allowed to have a similar Zanpakuto to someone else. And by similar, I mean the same, actually. So this person has Hyorimaru, which alerts the Soul Society and not only forces them to make him Toshiro Hitsugaya top priority for capture, but they approve his execution. Which, big deal. As Hitsugaya is still avoiding capture, he's very wounded still. He is accosted by both Lieutenant Kira and Lieutenant Hisagi with a team, and they try to, accost him and take him back to the Soul Society, and he beats them back despite being really wounded. During this time, some of the captains up in the Soul Society realize that there's no way that Toshiro could have gone up to the Soul Society and beaten these guys and then come back up and beaten Kyoraku. There's no way. So they start realizing that there's something weird afoot. And finally, Toshiro meets up with Kusaka. Kusaka presents the Oin and says, we need to undo what has been done. And he takes him to the Soul Society with the Oin. Asks him, tries to coerce him into breaking the Oin. And we learn that they were once friends in the academy, but they both developed the same Zanpakuto, Hyorimaru. Central 46 found out about this, had them duke it out to the death, despite their protests. Toshiro didn't want to because that's his friend. Kusaka, on the other hand, was like, I deserve to have Hyorimaru, so I will be the rightful owner. They duke it out anyway. Technically, Hitsugaya beats him. He doesn't kill him, he beats him. And then the stealth force steps in and kills Kusaka, saying that Hitsugaya is the rightful owner of Hyorimaru. After this, he dies, but his soul is somehow... Do not know how this happens. His soul is somehow absorbed into the Oin, and he is dropped into Waco Mundo, where he meets Yin and Yang. And we learn that the Oin is basically an object that can warp time and space. Godlike magic. Godlike powers. They're accosted by Yuichika, Ikaku, and Renji, and they fight them back until Ichigo arrives and once again asking Toshiro to break the seal. Toshiro refuses. Kusaka breaks the seal himself, which I don't know why he would ask, besides, he has the Bankai power, why he would ask to do that anyway if he could just break it himself. But I don't know. So he breaks out as a giant ice Hyorimaru-like dragon, and starts to go out of control because he has no control of Hyorimaru. Meanwhile, the Oin's power is exploding outward, threatens to destroy the Soul Society. The entirety of the Soul Society, mind you. Ichigo and Toshiro stop Kusaka with the power of friendship, and at this point, Kusaka loses his powers, essentially, leaving him to try to challenge Toshiro to fight him again, and Toshiro wins very easily, killing Kusaka, but says that you will always be my friend, and Kusaka's like, I needed to hear that. I'm like... The Oin comes back to its full natural state and is returned to its rightful place, and at the end, Toshiro goes to Kusaka's grave and says, sorry old friend, and leaves his broken sword behind. So, the animation in this was okay. For the action scenes, it was pretty good. For some other scenes, it was nice too, like really dramatic scenes. Overall, comparatively, it just didn't quite stand up. I think, in my opinion, story, very clunky, no. It could have been good. It had a good direction. It just did not work right. I blame that partly on the Oin and partly on the fact that we had to include Ichigo in this movie. I think it would have been better if it were just a Soul Society movie, personally, just with the members of the Soul Society in it. But alas, that's not the movie we got. Line delivery, fine. It was fine. I think, I forget the English dub actors for Toshiro Hitsugaya. He did a really good job in this movie. Not saying he doesn't do a good job in the show, but it just felt spectacular in this one. The voice actor for Kusaka, okay. It was fine. Wasn't great. Although I didn't really like Kusaka anyway. Of all the villains you'll see in the movies, or the people who come in, Kusaka just, he is unlikable in so many ways. Third movie, let's go. Fade to Black came out in 2008. It is more of a, I want to say it's more of a post Aizen being defeated movie. I think that's a fair thing to say. We go. We go down to the world of the living, and we find that Ichigo does not remember Rukia. Of course, this does not last for long though, as Kon reminds him of Rukia. Kon is a mod soul, so he does not get affected by the memory wipe. I don't make the rules, apparently Kuba does. With that, Ichigo remembers, rushes off to Urahara to see what the hell's going on. And Urahara does not remember her either. So this means that Ichigo has to go to he's already in the world of the living. He has to go to the Soul Society to figure out what the hell's going on. Fun fact, nobody remembers him either. So he has to find Ruki, really tattered robe, and she wakes up to see the siblings outside waiting for her, and she does not recognize them either. They're really sad by this and say, "You don't recognize us, we are your childhood friends, we grew up with you, how do you not remember us?" And she's like, sorry, I just do not. And so they remind her that she took care of them when they were younger and things of that nature, which is very dubious because we personally don't know. We just know that she grew up with Renji when she was younger, but she believes them because she really has no other memories to go off of. She believes them for the most part. Baffled that nobody remembers him or Rukia, he goes to Byakuya. Ichigo goes to Byakuya, Rukia's older adopted brother, and is like, "What's going on, Byakuya?" Byakuya doesn't remember him, doesn't remember Rukia. So that's strike two, apparently. But they have another clash, and Renji is involved. Ichigo is trying to remind Byakuya of her by bringing up Hisana. Hisana is Byakuya's deceased wife, also Rukia's older sister, and that memory has not been wiped, which thankfully is good. So listening to this, Byakuya is a little bit more convinced. He doesn't fully believe it yet, but he's convinced, and he tells Ichigo, if this is true, go to Hisana's birthplace, which is Inazuri. Inazuri is one of the worst districts in the Rukon district. I forget which side. I want to say it's the western, but it's probably not. So Ichigo goes there and finds Rukia in the same vicinity with the siblings, and they run away trying to flee. Ichigo catches up, tries to remind Rukia who he is. Rukia doesn't have a clue and seems to be in pain because she's trying really hard to remember, but she can't. He fails to retrieve her from them. The Shinigami catch up to him eventually and attack him again. However, this time he is aided by Renji. Renji doesn't necessarily remember yet, but he is told by Byakuya to trust Ichigo because I think he's thought it over and is like, well, I guess this makes sense. So Renji helps Ichigo. They defeat this group of Shinigami until head captain Yamamoto shows up, and he brings the rest of the captains with him, and he's like, look, you're being a little shit, it's time to bring you back down. We don't know who you are. and we are going to annihilate you. And then Urahara shows up in his old captain's uniform, which, don't know about you, but that's pretty dangerous. They obviously recognize Urahara because he's the former captain of Division 12. He says, I know what's going on, to a certain sickle that looks similar to that little tail thing. Rukia and the siblings arrive at the destroyed lab for the 12th Division, determined to destroy the Soul Society once and for all. And we learn that they blame the Soul Society for taking Rukia away from them. So they are determined to get revenge. However, Rukia, for whatever reason, I think she has some sort of weird memory thing. She's like, don't do that, please. Please don't kill everyone. And they're like, why? They took you from us. They don't deserve you. And of course, at this time, it's when Renji, Ichigo, and Kon showed up. And it is at this point that the memories start flowing back into Rukia's head, slowly, but they start coming back. She remembers her past, is hollified, and destroys another machine, setting off a cataclysm that creates this big giant monster that attacks the Soul Society. The other Shinigami show up, and they, along with Renji, fight off this monster while Ichigo goes off after Rukia. At some point, Byakuya steps in and is like, I should be the one to handle this, and Ichigo's like, no, I owe her one, and I also know how to handle this, so let me do it. And eventually, he wins. It's very much a parallel to when they first meet in episode 1, when Rukia gives him powers. He stabs her similarly. It's very poetic, a very Ichi-Ruki movie if you are like me and love the ship pairing. And of course, he defeats the Hollow. The Hollow is evaporated. Rukia comes back unscathed and her memory's restored, but the siblings are mortally wounded. Rukia explains that she remembers them, they were part of her past, and they died when they were very young. Leave it to Urahara, who arrives, who says that they were killed by a Shinigami who was infected by this parasitic hollow, kills them. I believe that the siblings had teleportation powers of some sort, or at least one of them. So as they died, the hollow fused with their bodies. So when they reincarnated, their bodies ended up in Hueco Mundo. There's a lot of people ending up in Hueco Mundo. I think Hueco Mundo's sick and tired of this shit. As they lay dying, the siblings ask Rukia what she would have named them. And Rukia says that the girl was going to be named Hamura, and the guy was going to be named Shizuki. And there's this really weird, corny moment where they're like holding hands, and then they say each other's names and then die. Which, that's sad. That's not corny. The dying part's not corny. And Rukia bursts out crying. And it's so sad. It's just, that part really hurt me. It's so heart-wrenching. The animation and the art in that scene, just sad. And at the end of the film, we see Rukia and Ichigo standing at the graves of these two. She says she'll never forget them. She says she'll always remember that they died because of poverty. I think she also said to Ichigo at the end that she feels like she and he met in a different life. That they were destined to know each other or something of that sort, which is very shippy. And that's how our movie ends. With a bittersweet note, which is nice because it was kind of sad. This is my favorite movie. The animation is top notch in this film. Even in like the low, like the parts where it wasn't as high quality, it was beautiful. The art is always amazing. It always amazes me. So it's definitely great. Story, fairly good. It has a couple of issues here or there. I don't like memory wipes. Memory wipes are cheap, and they can be used well. I'm not saying you can never use a memory wipe. Oh my god, that would be so weird. Don't do that. No, you can use memory wipes. Just, they're a very cliche trope, especially in anime. Not my favorite thing, but it works for what we needed it to. And script-wise, it was fine. It was actually pretty good. Very solid delivery, even from the new characters. I really liked both of their voices a lot, and they did very well. Except for that one scene. I don't know if it was better in the Japanese, but when they were holding hands and they said each other's names and they just did this Mora Suzuki kind of thing, I was like, that really took me out of the moment. And I know I'm supposed to feel sad and they're supposed to be very melodramatic, but it felt too melodramatic. So that's just me. That's my take on that. And we got one more animated film to go over, so without further ado, oh, this film. I have so many mixed feelings on this film. Full disclosure, when I was in high school, I absolutely adored this film. There's a lot of reasons why. One, the animation is superb. I don't know if they like upped their game or something. The fights were superb. The colors were to die for. The battles were amazing. Yes. The theme of the movie, beautiful, wonderful. As you can see, it takes place in hell, which is a scene that we don't really. We've seen the gates of hell once, and it was in the first season. When what is the main hollow's name? What is that hollow's name? The hollow that kills Ichigo's mom. I used to know it, and it's bugging me because I don't remember anymore. But he went to hell, and the gates of hell appeared and brought him back in. So we get to learn a little bit more about hell. How do I describe the story? It can be described in one decent-sized paragraph. And I wrote it down, so I don't have to remember it off the top of my head. Give me a sec. This is the story. Ichigo's sisters get nabbed by sinners from hell. He screamed real loud. A sinner steps in, says he can help him find his sister Yuzu, who was the only one that actually got nabbed, and they happen to save Kari. Ichigo blindly follows this said sinner, taking a few of his friends with him. They go through choppy big bad skelly boys and fight sinners. Ichigo holifies, gets separated from his friends, learns through awkward, cringy dialogue that Kokto? I swear to God, I've been able to say this name so many times, but for some reason today I cannot say his name. Kokto. There you go. They learned that his sister died and he did a bad thing. We don't exactly know what the bad thing was. Maybe that he killed his sister's killers, which, I mean, I don't blame him, but we just assume that that's why he goes to hell. And it was very awkward, forced dialogue. Oh, I hated it. Oh, it was bad. Oh, God. Even in the Japanese, it was bad. Oh, man. The main sinners who stole Yuzu stand over a big giant cage over a thing of lava, laugh maniacally and say, hey, you can't get your sisters. Long story short, they defeat these sinners, and just when you think everything is going correct, Kokto betrays him, shocker, and kills his friends. In turn, we learn that he wants Ichigo to break the gates of hell so he can escape, and that he can break his chains as well, because Hollow Ichigo apparently has the power to break chains from hell. Ichigo holifies as soon as he sees that his friends are dead, and just before he can officially sever all of Kokto's chains, Renji steps in before he passes away and sends him back to the world of the living with Yuzu in hand. They go to the world of the living. Yuzu is on the brink of death. Orihime tries to heal her, can't heal her. Ichigo screams. Again, real loud. Yamamoto is like, fuck you, what the fuck is wrong with you? Eventually, though, Yuzu is apparently healed. Not sure how that wasn't really explained, other than I think Hell just gave her soul back. I don't know. Ichigo goes back in despite being ordered not to, so he can save his friends now because his sister's back to life, and fights Kokto, nearly loses, because he doesn't want to holify, and he is helped by big bad skelly boys. By the way, they're called Kushinada. I don't know if I said that. They help him, give him some sick looking armor, and he is suddenly able to send Kokto straight to the very bottom of hell for eternal damnation forever and ever. They win, Ichigo goes yay, and it's a surprisingly very lighthearted ending. They all get together, they all are like, I don't remember being dead, what are you talking about? And as soon as Ichigo takes off his armor, the Kusinada start trying to chase them out of hell. The end. I'm sorry, did that give you whiplash? Because it gave me whiplash too. Okay. So, this is not necessarily my least favorite film. It holds a special place in my heart, but it is by no means great. Like I said, animation is wonderful. It's beautiful. They really outdid themselves in this movie. Story, terrible. Story was awful. Story made no sense. It was so condensed that the important plot points did not make any sense. Especially Kokuto has no background story. He is just a sinner. And I would have liked a little bit of background, because the other bad guys in the other stories get a little bit of background. Like, even the dark ones get a little bit of background. Kokuto gets no background. We just learned that his sister dies and he was big sad and killed people, apparently, or did something really terrible. But we learned nothing else. The twist was fine. It would have been better if we cared about Kokuto. I mean, I cared about Kokuto when I was younger because I thought he was handsome, and I loved him. He was big sad emo boy, and, you know, voiced by Travis Willingham, which, love Travis Willingham. Anyway, line delivery sucked in a lot of places. Not every place, but a lot of places. Very cringy, mostly just to force a lot of dialogue points, story plot points, which is very unfortunate, and I don't recommend anybody ever do that in their movies. Please do not do that. Please, 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 please. Never do that in a movie. Never use forced dialogue, because it was not normal flow of conversation. And normally these movies are decently good at doing that. This one just was not. I think this movie would have benefited if it had been a mini arc of its own. Not a movie, but like a couple episodes, like 24 episodes long or something. Maybe 30. And it would probably have been a filler episode, filler set of episodes. I wouldn't have cared. I want to know more about hell. Hell is a cool place. Well, cool. Subjective. Learning about hell would have been really cool. We just know that the Shinigami oversee it. We don't know how it came to be. We don't know how it plays into the larger picture. Don't know. There's a lot of questions that I need answered on hell, and consider this. And if you haven't seen much into the manga of Bleach, then you're gonna be like, what the fuck are you talking about? From what I understand, at some point the realms were separated and came into being. We don't know much about hell. We know quite a bit about Wakamundo and the Soul Society, and even then those two are a bit fuzzy on a lot of things, but we have a solid idea. Hell is just there. Hell is where somehow Central 46 arranges for souls to be sent to. We don't know how that dynamic works. We don't know how any of the dynamic works. We just know that the Kusinada are there and they're the guardians, and we don't know why. I have theories, but I don't think they're correct, and it's just a lot of confusion. And also, this movie's not canon, so really, who cares? But at the same time, I care. So this movie could have been a lot better. It just wasn't. There was a lot of hype around it too, for good reason, because a lot of the stuff was very cool. There was a short manga strip in the data book, the Hell Invitation book, which is also not in English, and I don't think it ever will get an English one, but if they do, great, because I want it. I'm tempted to get it in the Japanese. I found it on eBay. I desperately need it. And it was really cool. It had Cesiela Poro Grans and Aranero, both of the Espada who died, and they ended up there because their sins were great. That's how you end up there, depending on what you've done in your past life. And if you die, you get shanked and brought in. That's the gist of it. And it was really cool. That's all I will say. And finally, we have our live action movie. The Soul Reaper, or the Shinigami Agent arc, Like I said, this movie is basically the condensed version of the first season of Bleach. And it was really fun. Oftentimes, as we all know, anime movies do not translate well to live action movies. And I'm not saying this is the best live action movie for an anime film. I don't think there really is. Maybe I've heard Gantz is good, but I also know that the people who did the Gantz movie, live action movie, did this movie. So there's that. There was a lot of love poured into this movie, and I think it did really well. The actors, wonderful, for most of them. Not saying that all of them did a bad job, but they nailed a lot of the characters. They definitely nailed Ichigo. I loved the actor for Ichigo. I'll put their names up because I don't know them off the top of my head. The guy who did Ichigo was great. The girl who did Rukia, fantastic. I really loved her. She did an epic job. She really captured Rukia. I think of all the actors, I think I really loved her the most. She also had long hair. Her hair was not short like Rukia's. It was pulled back in like a semi thing, and the rest of her hair was hanging down. I thought that was fine. I know some people were really put off by that. I don't know. I don't really care. As long as she really hones in on her characterization, that's fine. And she really did. She was fantastic. I'm gonna sing her praises. I loved her. The actor for Uryu, oh my god, I loved him. He was so badass. Not that Uryu is not badass in the show, but he really highlighted just how cool he was in this show. And Uryu and Ichigo had really great chemistry, friend rivalry, later on chemistry. The effects for the Healing Bogan was great. Orihime, pretty great. She didn't have too much time in this movie. Chad, they did a good job with Chad, I think. He looked fairly much like Chad. He wasn't as tall, but that didn't matter to me personally. He was very much the silent and brooding type, speaking only when necessary. He didn't act too much in this. Neither did Kisuke Urahara. We didn't see Yoruichi, really. We only saw one captain, which is fine because I think only in the first season you see one captain, Byakuya. He did great. He was fantastic. They tried to do the hair thing from the manga / anime. I don't like it on them. They could have done something slightly different, I think. I think they just really wanted to try to capture his essence, which they did a decent job. I just didn't like how it looked in person. So no, that didn't really distract or anything. I thought the actor for Byakuya was perfect. Renji was great. However, the one thing that really bugged me was that they said that they adopted both Renji and Rukia into the family, which did not happen in the show. That was confusing to me, and also makes Renji a little more questionable. I will say the chemistry between Rukia and Ichigo is so good. It is, the training sequence is my favorite thing. It's really funny. It wasn't necessarily like the anime, but it was very good. I enjoyed it thoroughly. This movie is kind of campy, but it's based off an anime. It's going to be campy. You can't help it but be campy. It was a lot of fun.
Hi, Rukia. Greetings, Fair Orihime.
Why are you talking like that?
I got it from your book.
You've been reading my manga.
It's how modern people
Not
speak.
in this century.
Didn't mean to interrupt, sorry.
My gripes, and there are a number. Tatsuki was not Tatsuki that we know Tatsuki to be. She was a lot more girly, which, you know what, that's fine. You don't have to be all jockish and all that, but she just wasn't Tatsuki. She didn't feel like Tatsuki. She didn't feel important. We had Keigo. Keigo was fine. He was funny. He wasn't there very often either. Not that he was very often there in the first season either. He was very much a jokester, and it was great. Mizurio's not there. Cone is not there. Like I said, Yoruichi's not there that I can think of. Oh, Tessai's not there either. Neither is Jinta or Ururu. Ishin was there. Ishin was great. Masaki, fantastic when she was there. The main hollows. Okay, so the hollows weren't bad, but they in these movies in Japan, CGI never really is great. They were a little odd looking. They weren't the best, but they were fine. They were fine. Zanpakutos did decently well. They did a decent job. They did well with Zangetsu. They did well with... We didn't get to see Zangetsu in his spirit form, but we did get to see his sword. We got to see Zawimaru. Don't think we got to see Senban Sakura, which wouldn't be able to see in the first season anyway, or Sodeno Shiroyuki, but Rukia didn't have her powers anyway, so it didn't really matter. Either way, this movie was pretty good. Story mostly follows the regular story. It did a good job of that. The visuals were pretty good. The way that they portrayed the Soul Society, oh my god, I loved it. It was very dark and ethereal feeling, which is fine. And I think it was just supposed to be at night anyway. But so I sincerely hope they make another one. I don't say that often for a live action movie. I sincerely hope they make another one. The OST, beautiful, gorgeous, flawless. The OST is by Yutaka Yamada, who also does the soundtrack for Tokyo Ghoul. Oh, I've listened to that soundtrack so many times. It's so beautiful. It actually makes me want to cry. It chills you to the bone. It feels like something you would hear out of the Bleach anime, which is perfect. And the main song is there's two songs. There's the opening song and the ending song. They're both by a band called Alexandros. There's Mosquito Bite and then there's Milk. And Milk feels like something you would hear in an opening, and a Bleach anime opening. Would have loved to see that. Would have been great. So overall, wonderful. Oh, and they do an English dub, and they have Johnny Young Bosch, who does the English dub in the anime, as Ichigo in this movie, and I'm gonna go back in and watch it with Johnny Young Bosch. I'm kind of curious how that works out.
Hey y'all, it's Editing Amber here. So I did some post-filming / post-watching the Bleach live-action movie research, and I found that we have a treasure trove of familiar voice actors. So not only do we have Johnny Young Bosch as Ichigo, which is fantastic, we have a couple other returning ones. We have Stephanie Sheh, who originally voiced Orihime in the live action. We have Derek Stephen Prince, who also did Uryu. We have Keith Silverstein, who didn't necessarily voice Sheen, but he is a voice actor who has played a lot of roles in Bleach. He's done Eren Yarrow, Coyote Stark, Tensa Zangetsu, which I don't think I knew that one. And he also did Tess Redlinda Cruz. And of course, Kisuke was voiced by his second voice actor. The first original one, I think he passed away a while ago. But Doug Earholtz? Yeah, Doug Earholtz. He also, voice acted Dean. So he's also in this movie. It's fantastic. Oh, and the original voice of Yuzu is in here too. Janice Kawaye? I can't say that name, but yeah. And plus we got some other really good voice actors in here who've also voiced in lots of anime dubbing and adaptations. So we really got spoiled on this one. It was a very fantastic English dubbing. And I highly recommend that more people check it out because both the sub and dub are great. Okay, that's it.
So yes, that is the complete, as of now, library of Bleach movies. I will now give a rating, and it will be as such. So please don't hate me for this rating. I feel like someone out there is going to be really salty. It was hard for me to rate some of them because I liked them, but I didn't like them more than the others, so it felt wrong giving them certain numbers, but it is what it is. If you like one movie over the other, that is totally fine. If you liked Diamond Dust Rebellion, okay. That is fine. It had some redeemable things in it. It was not entirely all bad. It just was not great. It could have been better. It was just disappointing off the heels of Memories of Nobody. That does not mean, though, that we are never getting another Bleach movie again. This is not necessarily exactly Bleach, but if you know, you know. One, we are getting a Burn the Witch manga, which Burn the Witch is a spin-off by Tite Kubo of Bleach. It is in the Soul Society East branch, which is dragons, England, London kind of stuff. I'm super excited. After the manga comes out, which is like in a week or two, and it'll be like 4, I hope, big chapters, they are coming out with the Burn the Witch movie. I am so excited. I will do a review of it when it comes out. But it is technically going to be a Bleach movie, so that's coming soon. And then, of course, we get in 2021, hopefully, if COVID doesn't throw it off, or 2022, the last series, the last animated arc of Bleach. And I sincerely hope either A, we get another live action movie at some point in time, which I don't think will be anytime soon because of COVID, or B, we get an animated movie. Please, one more movie to send us off. That would be wonderful. I would love that. Oh man, can you imagine Noriyuki Abe leading another one with Shiro Saigisu? It's Saigisu. I cannot say his name. I'm so sorry. I've never been able to say his name. He does the OSTs for the regular the show itself and the movies. That would be spectacular. I would cry. I would cry. So yes, takeaway from all of these movies: do not trust the Soul Society ever to take care of any of your problems, because they will just end up deciding it's best to kill you. 2, if you have a friend arrive back from the dead and they probably went to Wake Mundo, do not just abandon your post, because then you will ruin the lives of all of your friends. 3, don't lose parasitic hollows in the Soul Society, because that's how you get got. And 4, I don't know, don't kill people's sisters. This is how you get Kodo, and he might go around killing people. Also, write better scripts, or try to write a better movie. And by that I mean, maybe don't make it a movie, make it a filler arc and do a different movie. I don't know, that's just my take. And please make another live action movie. Please, I'm begging. And if you don't, that's fine, but I will cry. And put Mizurio back in the films and give us more Urahara, because the guy who played Urahara was really cool looking and he looked very accurate. Anywho, yeah, that is my roundup of the Bleach movies. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys have a lovely day. I hope you guys are staying safe, staying well, staying hydrated, staying away from COVID, wearing your mask, and you plan on voting in November. Anyway, have a good night or day or whatever time. I don't know. Right now it's night for me. And I will see you all soon. Goodbye.